Welcome to Four Corners. Few developments in Australia have aroused such passion as the proposal by the Indian corporate colossus Adani to build a giant coal mine in Queensland's Galilee Basin. The federal and Queensland governments say the project, the world's biggest export coal mine, will provide thousands of jobs and a huge boost to the economy. Environmentalists claim the mine may pollute the Great Barrier Reef, while graziers fear it will spoil the underground water so crucial to their farms. Just as controversial is the prospect of a loan of up to $1 billion backed by the Australian government to finance the project. The Adani Group and its billionaire chairman Gautam Adani were little known in Australia before the mine proposal. In India, the company is a dominant player in the economy, with interests in ports, power stations, mining, real estate and food production. It's also been dogged by controversy, including allegations of environmental destruction, money laundering and bribery. Reporter Stephen Long and producer Wayne Harley travelled to India to investigate.
I feel sick because Adani is heartless.
They have flouted all possible regulations. They have their compliance has been pathetic.
Stanislas Correa is 6 years old. He's struggling to breathe. There's coal dust in his lungs.
We close the windows that the dust doesn't come in. Even then, my younger son, Stanislas, gets up in the morning and vomits all cold out.
He vomits up
Yes, coal.
The Correa's oldest son, Sherwin, has also been plagued by ill health from coal pollution.
As a young boy, I used to get these repeated, cold, running nose and all that. And my parents had to take me again and again to the hospital. I still suffer even today, and my classmates are suffering.
The minute we went out of town, might be Kerala, Delhi, they were perfectly normal within 2 days. On our return back, within 2 days, it would start again.
The Correa family live in Vasco da Gama, a city built around one major industry, a port. The giant Indian conglomerate Adani has a large coal berth here.
I would call coal as the curse on Vasco, because it is the pollution, the air pollution has been so rampant. There are so many people who have been facing health problems.
Adani's coal berth is not the only one or the only cause of Vasco's poor air quality. But Adani has had a running battle with the pollution watchdog since it began operating nearly 4 years ago.
The Pollution Control Board issued a show cause notice as to why Adani's operations should not be shut down.
The sick children's father, Savio, happens to be an environmental lawyer.
They have now passed an order.
He's been collecting evidence on Adani's pollution and its violations of licence conditions at the port.
On 14 occasions out of 24, the values of particulate matter exceeded the permissible limits. And
wow, that's quite a lot.
Absolutely.
The well-to-do off, they can go out of Vasco, they can build flats out, but what about the poor?
In a rundown district of Vasco, Dr. Barban runs a busy hospital and general practice. Each day he treats the sick, the poor and the victims of airborne pollution.
In my practice, I find at least 22 to 25% of the patients who come are with the respiratory disease, high number, and this goes from adult, middle this thing, to children. And children who are suffering are badly suffering.
Adani denies that it's polluting the air. But just 2 months ago, a report by the State Pollution Control Board found otherwise. The report said that emissions of tiny toxic particles were consistently high in the port area, with highest levels in berth 5A and berth 7. Berth 7 is Adani's operation.
Coal is the one which particles remain and they go and stick in the lung air cells. It is like smoking a cigarette. In a death of a cell which takes place in the lungs, in a tissue, is permanent damage.
2 years ago, the Pollution Control Board ordered that mounds of coal be no more than 5 metres high. Adani refused, saying this wouldn't be economic or practical. When we were there, some of the coal was piled higher than a 15-metre fence designed to stop the dust blowing into town.
I have seen from my own experience coal being stacked up to 12 meters at Adani's port regularly.
For this family, it's not just a debate on rules and regulations. It's about the health of their children.
It feels me very bad to see him suffer. As a mother, I have no words to say how bad I feel for the child. And if I feel bad for my child, there are so many mothers who also feel bad for their children.
In slick videos, Adani presents itself as a model corporate citizen, in keeping with its size and status. For in its home country, the Adani Group is a corporate colossus.
He's the biggest generator of electricity in the private sector, both coal-based as well as solar energy. He's the biggest importer of coal, much of it from Indonesia. He's also the biggest miner of coal within India.
I think it's a very, very interesting story. Here was a business person who very few people knew about him 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Paranjoy Gua Tarkurta is renowned in India, an economist, author, investigative journalist, commentator and public intellectual.
And I find it really fascinating that here is a person who nobody knew 15 or 20 years ago, whose rise has been truly meteoric and who, sort of in some more ways than one kind of epitomizes the working of the nexus between big business and politics.
He's completing a book on Gautam Adani and his business empire.
Today he's not just one of India's richest men, he controls key sectors. Mr. Adani's conglomerate, directly, indirectly, controls the activities of 11 ports located along the east coast and the west coast of India.